We have an overlay there.
That's not good.
Yeah. There we go. Hey, Eastern Oregon. Welcome to this. What is this day? This is the
23rd.
May 23rd version of AM Live on EOA, your connection to Eastern Oregon. Is that it right there? Sorry, a little bit of chaos at the very end, but how are you, man?
Stuck when I was checking to make sure I got all my pictures loaded in.
Yeah.
I'm good. What is today? First Friday. Is it already?
No, this is Tuesday.
Monday.
Yeah, you and your
I was
little
trying
versions.
to skip forward a few days. Get through. It's not.
Yeah.
We're giving out the Doug Trice scholarships tonight.
Are you?
Yeah, it's already senior award night.
Are you excited about that? Yeah.
Oh, sure. Yeah. I mean, I don't really like going up there and talking. I got out of it last year because our photographer didn't show up, so I had to take pictures.
How many do you
4
do you give
this year?
Cool.
Yeah, four $1,000 scholarships.
All righty. Well, hey, do you want to do sports?
Let's do it.
Sorry, we're a little.
Big day for LeGrand sports. 3:30 today down at Pioneer Park. We have the first round playoff game for the baseball team. They're going to be taking on Madras in the first round playoff game for the softball team. They're going to be taking on Marist Catholic. We should win both of those games. Tickets are $10 for adults, $6 for students. And the only cool thing about having both the games at the same time is you only have to pay one time to get into both games. I think it's stupid. I'm done with the OSAA. Get playoff games at the same time takes away fans. And just the rankings for OSAA. It's completely ridiculous. Like I was talking with one of the softball players in Safeway on Sunday, and it's like the girls team split with Pendleton this year. Okay, so they won 2, Pendleton won 2. Pendleton ended up winning the GOL off of a tiebreaker. Well, they had very similar records, but actually we had a better record than Pendleton. The Pendleton girls are ranked 4th and LeGrand's ranked 5th. So if we win today, we play Pendleton on Friday in the playoffs, which is completely ridiculous because this is 2 of the top 3 teams in the state playing. I mean, arguably, but according to anybody outside of OSAA, including the coaches, they're 2 of the top 3 teams in the state, and they're going to end up playing in the second round of the playoffs when they should be playing in the semifinals or the finals. And it's getting really old. And the girls' argument in Safeway was, well, the boys, so if we look at the boys' side, we're ranked 5th in the state. Pendleton beat us 3 out of 4, and they have a very similar record as us. And Pendleton's ranked number 6 behind us. It's frustrating. So yeah, go check those games out today. It's gonna be awesome. This last weekend was a huge weekend. On Friday we did the golf tournament for EOU, and then Saturday it was blue and gold weekend. So it started out with the alumni volleyball game. I'll show you guys some pictures from that. These are a few of the alumni. One of the coach, Jesse White, Madison Pylon, Megan Bunn. Here's Jet Taylor, who actually went and played at Boise State for her 5th year, so she played 4 years at EOU and then 1 year at Division I volleyball. Just a couple of the girls. These are all alumni people. That's Malia Mills. She's the new assistant athletic director up at EOU. And then after the football game, we had the soccer game, and it's another one of the alumni. They bring back a bunch of guys, and they had like 25 or 30 alumni guys. It was crazy. Like how many guys like living vicariously through alumni. But this is Aldo Rivas. He's an alumni, and he actually works up at the hospital. He's getting his nursing degree. And then finally the football game on Saturday, the spring game, which it doesn't really give you a tell-all for next season because all the guys that are coming in the fall, so the only the guys that came early are the new guys that are playing. And we have a transfer from Central Washington, the GNAC Player of the Year Division II, coming in at quarterback in June. Actually, is when he's going to be here. But here's some pictures from there. There's Josh Mendoza, all conference safety. Brody McMillan, he's a LaGrange kid, and he'll actually get some time this year. He was out last year with a knee injury. I like that shot right there.
Yeah, that's a good shot. This
is Walker Camp, Andre Martinez. He scored on a touchdown. The way they play that game is kind of weird though. The defense starts with 21 points. So it's defense versus offense.
Right.
Defense starts with 21 points. The offense just has the ball all the time, and they're starting at the 20 and 12-minute quarters, running clock. And the defense scores points by takeaways. So if they get a takeaway, they get 3 points.
A turnover?
Yeah, a takeaway.
Okay.
Yeah.
Okay. All right.
It's called a takeaway if you're on defense. It's called a turnover if you're on offense.
Right. Got it. Okay.
Yeah. So the defense ended up winning the game. They started 21 points up. I think the offense scored 3 touchdowns. It was a good game though. And then finally, the last little bit of news. Let's look at this comment real fast for you. Morning, Jimmy. Rich McElmore, the head football coach at LaGrange, stepped down. So that job is open. I've heard that I'm sure there's going to be a handful of applications, but I know 3 so far that have applied. I'm not at liberty to speak on who they are, but it's going to be a competitive little. Yeah. I do know that Wolcott is going to stay as a defensive coordinator, but you never know. Like I don't want to say that it could happen, but you never know. If a head coach comes in and doesn't want him as the DC, then that could be a problem. You know what I mean? If they hire someone, but I don't think. I mean, it's LaGrange. It's like,
right.
But I kind of feel for whoever's coming in at coach as the new coach, because there's a lot of expectation, and I don't want to like talk bad about anything, but I feel like we're going to be on a little bit of a downswing. And I've said that before on the show. Like we're going to have a few years where we're going to
rebuild,
where we don't quite have the talent. Like, I mean, it could just be me. I might be missing it. You know what I mean? I've seen some flashes of brilliance like on the JV team, but I haven't seen like what we had in 2019.
Yeah.
No.
So how long had McElmoyle been coach?
I don't know. 8 years, 10
8
years.
or 10, a long time.
Yeah, something like that. I didn't ask him why. Like, I talked to him briefly yesterday, but I didn't ask him why or anything. But I mean, I can imagine that going through all that stuff with the OSAA a couple of years ago with the racist stuff and all that crap probably didn't help.
Yeah.
And I mean, yeah. The one thing I do, so me personally, like, and he got through it fairly well, but I don't like varsity head coaches coaching their own kids. I'm just not, and I understand that it kind of happens in small towns, but like, so like for the, moving forward, I would like to see somebody that doesn't have kids, like it just makes things a lot easier.
Well, it is, but it's kind of, but I mean, and I agree with you, but the reason that you have strong sports programs is because you have strong parents.
Yeah, but at a varsity level, that doesn't play into who the head. No,
but I mean, the fact is if you have a group of parents and a group of kids, and they're kind of going along as those kids age, then those, to support that group of kids, those parents are taking on more and more responsibilities.
Yeah, but historically at the high school level, that's when you pass your kids off.
Yeah,
it's like, okay, I coached you all the way through middle school,
and now it's somebody else's.
Let's let somebody else do it. And I'm just not a fan of. I think it puts undue pressure on the other kids, on the kid.
No,
dad is the coach, and on other coaches in the league when it comes to voting for all conference. I'm not saying anything's ever happened. I'm just saying that that's what it looks like on the outside.
Well, you can't. Boy, you look at McElmoyle's winning over the last whatever it's been.
Yeah, it's pretty good.
Oh yeah. I mean, I don't know how it compares to the past, but certainly it
was one of the best.
We've had a really great stretch here.
Yep, and it's gonna be tough to whoever, like I said, whoever gets hired has They're coming in. I mean, I understand. Like, this would be when I would step down as a coach too.
Yeah.
I hate to say it like that, but it's perfect timing. I mean,
yeah.
And he has every right to. I mean,
Yeah.
he got us through COVID. He got us through the crap with the racist stuff. He got us a state championship. Let's go.
Yeah. So, yeah, thank you, Rich. Bottom line, yeah, thank you for
great job.
Yep, what you've done. So, well,
that's it. That's all I got for sports. Go watch the Tigers today.
Yeah.
Support them. $10 for adults, $6 for kids.
3 o'clock.
3:30.
3:30. Yeah, it's funny. I went out there. When I went there the other day, because if you haven't been out I mentioned this, the two home plates kind of butt up against each other. Softball on one side, baseball on the other. And there's a path in between. And there was one gal who was sitting in the middle of the path watching both games,
That's technically the JV field for softball.
Okay.
But we're just not playing on the turf field yet.
Yeah.
So they sit there and they bomb foul balls back and forth at each other, and everybody's yelling heads up and nobody's moving. So somebody's going to get domed one of these days. Yeah.
Well, and looking at the weather cam, looks like it's going to be a pretty day.
Nice Hopefully day. Not too hot.
A little bit of wind here. Here's the graphic that I found.
Oh, perfect.
Yeah.
What's that? The high 68?
No, I think that was the current temperature.
Oh.
Maybe, I don't know. I can't. It's supposed to be 43 tonight. Maybe it is the high. I don't know what it is currently.
Yeah, high 68 degrees.
Okay.
Says it right there. That's not bad.
No, it'd be beautiful.
My skin needs a break from the sun. I got bombed this weekend.
You did.
I did. I was in the sun a lot on Saturday.
Yeah.
Well worth it though. That whole weekend of Blue and Gold is really it's fun to watch. It's exciting. They had like the soccer team out painting faces of little kids. It's like a family fun event too in the tailgate, and it's pretty fun. There's a lot going on.
Well, good deal. Well, so Kevin Loveland with Loveland Safe Ride is going to be with us here. And be with us here right after.
EO Live is your connection to Eastern Oregon. Get the latest and most relevant news in 2 minutes or less on our evening news broadcast. We cover Eastern Oregon's weather daily with Gabe, the EO Live weather kid, with an extended forecast every Friday. Watch Doddsy on EO Live Sports to get the latest sports information and interviews with local coaches, athletes, and more. See Brent and Doddsy goof and gaff with local guests on EO Live's morning talk show, AM Live on EOA. We're available across the board, including Facebook, YouTube, Amazon Fire, and of course, our very own website, eolive.tv. We even have our own Roku channel with 24/7 live stream EOA content. You can also listen to our shows on Spotify, Apple Podcasts, Amazon Music, and many other popular podcast apps. You can get everything all in one place with the EO Live app, available on Android, iOS, and the Amazon App Store. EO Live, your connection to Eastern Oregon.
All right, we're back with Kevin Loveland, the infamous. Yeah, I don't know you. So when I did the Canva for Kevin, I don't know if you saw it, but on the second panel it says we have no control over him.
Oh, crazy.
You do. You get a little, yeah,
right.
Yeah, and yeah, it's good to have you, man. I know that you're out and about quite a bit. And so I've tried to have you before. It's like, no, in fact, the last time,
oh no,
the last time I invited you, I said, well, hey, can you be on the show tomorrow morning? And you didn't even respond. You sent me this video of you hunting, and it was minus 30 below. Yes. And you were in a blind, and you sent me this video like, it's minus 30. I have no idea. I wish I have that video. That was
somewhere.
Yeah.
Well, we can play that sometime.
What were you hunting?
I was just hunting. I don't want to offend anybody.
It's an FCC.
I know, but
were you successful?
No,
you're hunting Yetis.
And I think, and that is, and I think that was the essence, the essence that I got of that, of like, it's early in the morning, it's minus 36, and this is not a successful hunt.
No, it was cold. It was too cold for anything to be moving. Except for,
Yeah.
yes.
Yeah. Well, good. Well, how are you doing?
Oh, fantastic. Thanks for having me.
Yeah. Anything new or exciting going on?
Well, actually, we're in the process of doing a survey at the county.
Oh, wow.
So that has been very exciting. My family has started it for years and years ago. So I've always felt like that would be a great place. And we're going to real safe and everything over here. We have a team of people up there that will be helping us out in the local level. And we're going up there. So it'll probably be a couple of days a week. Just we're really excited about it.
Yeah. You're going to have to go back to work.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Sure. You guys can't see which is good because I don't really see it. But I'm in shorts right now. So, but I'll have pants on later.
Yeah.
But then I'll be at the game and then I'll have shorts back on.
Are you gonna go watch the game?
I'll be at the game. Absolutely. Yeah. Watching both sides.
Yeah.
Boys and girls.
The last time we played Pendleton, so the very last games of the season for us for league games, it was the most people I've ever seen there, and everybody said that. Chachas, people that have been around, that played here, that day that there was more people at those two games than I've ever seen. So I can imagine that's what it's going to be like. Yeah, this poor snack bar, they were like an hour behind.
So get there early if you want to see.
Yeah, if you want a burger, you better get in line quick. Yep.
Okay, hey, we got to take just a break real quick because I need to fix your microphone. All right, yeah, we'll be right back. All right, we're back. That's better.
Had a little audio-visual problem. This is not a tick up here, ladies and gentlemen. This is actually a microphone. Yes. It is that tick.
Yeah, it definitely is.
Okay, but now so you got to roll it out again. It's like it gets against your skin.
It's flipping around.
Yeah, and then it. Yeah, there you go.
Sorry, folks.
It looks really dorky, but
all right. That's all right. That's all right.
See, this is how you're supposed to put it on. See how?
I need a collar.
That's the deal.
That's what happens when you're a professional. You wear a collar.
All right. So we were talking about the game, though. You were talking about the games.
Yes, we'll be there today.
Yeah, I think there's going to be a lot of people there. I would hope, and we should win both. I mean,
absolutely, we're going to win.
We're ranked higher than both of these teams coming in, and that's why we're at home. So,
all right. So, what else is going on? Let's talk about how you. I mean, and we were talking about that briefly. How did you get to LeGrand? How did you purchase Loveland? It wasn't Loveland at that time. Kind of tell us your story a little bit.
So, a lot of people ask me. They look at me and they'll say, "How did you become a funeral director? Did your dad do this? What? Did your parents?" And it's kind of a long story, but I'll condense it. I was dating a girl in high school, and her dad owned a funeral home, and we owned a ranch in Prineville, Oregon, and I assumed that I was going to be taking over our family ranch, and we ended up having to sell the ranch, like a lot of families did, that because it was a big ranch, and there was just a lot of dynamics with it, and some people came in from California and offered the family, and it was kind of a step family, a pretty good amount of money. The reason why I'm explaining that is I didn't get any of that money because it was I was a grandson. But anyways, the ranch got sold, and now I was looking for a new career, and my girlfriend's dad said, "Come to work for me," and I said, "Heck no." You work with dead people.
Yeah.
Who wants to do that for a living?
Right.
That's weird.
Yeah.
So to make a long story short, he says, "Well, just come and work on the outside of the building, wash cars and do things like that." And next thing I know, he bought me a white shirt and a tie And then I was helping people get out of cars with umbrellas, and when it was raining. And then I was delivering little boxes to the cemetery, which come to find out were urns. And then I was picking up caskets at the warehouse. And then I was picking people up when they passed away. And next thing I know, he had roped me into becoming a funeral director.
Mm-hmm.
And so I served my apprenticeship in Canby, Oregon, for a year. Went to mortuary school, graduated from mortuary school, and then from there, I worked back at Canby, and then slowly, after kind of a long story, I ended up seeing that this funeral home was for sale here. Don and Monica Payne had it for sale in roughly 1996, and I tried to buy it in 96. And I went to my dad and said, "Remember that funeral home on 4th Street in La Grande?" I said, I want to buy it. And he said, "Oh," he goes, "Okay, let me ask you a couple of questions." And I'm like, "Oh no, he's going to play dad." He says, "How much experience do you have at running your own business?" And I said, "Oh, none." And he goes, "Okay, how much money do you have?" And I said, "Well, none." And he goes, "Well, it doesn't look like you're buying that funeral home in La Grande." So I thought, well, he's not going to loan me money.
Right.
And he thinks that I'm playing too much instead of, doing what I'm supposed to be doing. And and he was totally right. I was playing. I spent every dollar I had on hunting and fishing and just running around the country. And I was not being a person that is about to buy a business. And so from that moment on, I saved every penny I had, and I bought this funeral home in October of 1999. And I called my dad up and I said, "Hey, Dad, remember that funeral home in La Grande?" And he says, "Yes." And I said, "I'm going to buy it." And he goes, "Well, great. You've done a great job." And he goes, "And now we are willing to help you." And I said, "I don't need your help." I secured the loan.
Figured out by then.
I secured the loan, and I bought the funeral home, and so I kind of work on seasons, like hunting and fishing seasons.
Right.
And so I tell people I bought it of deer season of 1999, which is October of 1999. And yep, and that's how I ended up in La Grande. My dad used to own a small lumber mill in Pilot Rock, so we were very familiar with this country, and I hunted and fished over here, and we had family here, and it was just a great fit. And I've been here ever since.
99.
99.
Wow.
That was when I left here.
Oh,
99.
Was it something I said, or
No, probably? I knew you were coming.
Yeah.
Let me get that out of here.
Yeah. So, and in 2001, that was my 40th birthday.
Yes, that was fun.
And that's how you and I connected.
Yes.
Because at the birthday party, you showed up with a casket.
Well, they said that I was doing a birthday party for a very, very old person, so I just thought I would bring a casket.
Yeah, you rolled in the back door and like, "Yeah, I'm Kevin, and I'm here to measure you for your casket." Yeah, that was
a fun day.
That was a fun day. That was. Yeah,
it was.
So, well, cool. And man, you've been real involved in just so many things here. And I think, we've talked about it, but I'm sure you haven't watched it. There's a movie of a funeral director, and Jack Black plays the funeral. You and I have talked about it.
I have not watched that. I do need to watch that.
Yeah,
okay.
It is hilarious because he's like he's his character. He's the happy funeral director, and that's kind of like, it was like, "You're the funeral director." I mean, it's the same response I'm sure that you get a lot, is like, "Really?" So
well,
it's called Bernie.
It's kind of a joke, but if you look at the word funeral and how it's spelled, I have always said that we put the fun in funeral. And there are other funeral homes that do your standard 10 o'clock and 2 o'clock funeral, and they play Amazing Grace and In the Garden, and the exact same scripture and everything is read, and that works great for some people. But other people need and want a personalized, meaningful funeral ceremony around that person's life, and that's what we encourage people to do. And a lot of our personality and our laughing and joking around, it comes out in funerals, and we have a great time. I mean, you've heard when I'm up on the microphone and we're talking at funerals, and we encourage the happy stories. We encourage true celebrations instead of the standard sad funerals. However, there are some people that want those style of funerals because that's the way grandma had it. That's the way grandpa had it. And we do those too. Those are actually really easy.
You're right.
Because it's just the standard cookie cutter approach.
Yeah.
But boy, I'll tell you what, when we're trekking up to Indian Rock at, you know, in the middle of summer and dusty roads and trying to get everybody lined out and dealing with wind and heat and sun and audio visual equipment and all this stuff, it can create a challenge. But we do a lot of remote services, but at the end of the day, it's a lot of fun. We have a lot of people that are requesting kind of certain themes for dress, like wear a Hawaiian shirt or dress casual, or if you're comfortable wearing shorts, wear shorts, you know, wear a ball cap, you know, wear LeGrand Tigers attire. And we encourage that type of personalization when it comes to funerals. And since we started down that path, we have shown people that it just doesn't have to be the standard 2 o'clock funeral. And it's really been a lot of fun.
Yeah.
A lot more work,
right,
but a lot of fun.
So here, pull your microphone back a little bit.
Doing it again.
Yeah.
So give me some advice. I have to MC my first memorial.
Oh my gosh.
In like 3 weeks. I've never done it before, and I'm really nervous.
So the kind of I'm giving everybody our tricks.
One of my best friends too.
Oh, I'm sorry, man.
Tough.
So are you the main MC?
Yes.
And so basically the first thing that I do if I was asked to do it is I'll stand up and I'll welcome everybody. And then I'll remind people if they have a cell phone, if they could turn their phone to silent or turn it to off. And so I'll do that. And then normally I'll just kind of tell people a course of events. And in that course of events, if you are planning on having an opportunity for people to share stories, you want to tell them up front so they can get their stories together and get their nerve together,
Mm-hmm.
because they're going to have to be speaking in front of people. And if the service is going to be audio taped, then of course everybody needs to actually speak into the microphone. So that creates a little more nerve too, because you have to walk up to the microphone.
Right.
So I would just give the course of events, and and normally how we do it is we'll start out with the welcome, the cell phones, and if the family wants a prayer, you can read an opening prayer. That normally settles people down a little bit, and then you can move into just talking about the person's life, like the obituary and or eulogy. Normally right after that, it's a really good time to do the slideshow. The slideshow will bring out memories for people that are at the funeral that will help them in their stories. Kind of, oh, I remember that picture.
Mm-hmm.
I'm going to tell that story. And then right after the slideshow, you open it up for public sharing. But you want to find a couple of seed people that are going to share and say, when I ask for volunteers, would you be the first and would you be the second? Because you want to get the ball rolling.
Right.
And there's my microphone. You want to get the ball rolling for people, and then once that gets going, normally, and I would tell people about 3 minutes, because you could get to a situation where somebody will take 15 minutes to tell one story.
Yeah.
And so you tell people, we only have about 15 or 20 minutes allocated for this sharing time. So please keep your stories respectful. And people know what the word respectful means. You don't have to say, don't cuss, don't tell. If you say respectful, people understand that. So, 3 minutes to your stories. And then after 15, 20 minutes goes by, you're going to say, okay, last one. And then somebody else is going to stand up and say, okay, guys, I said last one this time, but this will actually be the last one. and then you say, there is going to be a reception following. So the rest of you that have stories, you are more than welcome to share the stories at the reception. There'll be people there, pictures and flowers and that kind of stuff. And then after that, if there's anybody that wants to read a poem or a verse or some scripture, that's the time to kind of do it, because it's kind of wrapping up that person's lifestyle. And then just the final thing would be the prayer and the closing, and then the announcement about the reception, and if there's going to be a reception afterwards. And then another thing is, most funeral homes actually have on their website, next to the obituary, where you can click onto it and share a story about the deceased, and then that gets emailed to the funeral home, and then the funeral home will share that information with the family. So if people just don't want to get up in public, there's still an avenue for them to share their story.
Crazy.
Yeah.
So you have really embraced technology. So what happens is you're pulling on that cord.
Right.
Yeah.
Right.
I mean, and I've shared this before, the way that EO Alive got started was we started streaming. You came to me in 2014
Yes.
and said, hey, can you stream a funeral service? And that was before streaming was easy. I mean, it was a real load lift, and we figured out how to do that on a regular basis, and we still do that for you guys.
We do.
But once we had it figured out, then it was like, well, let's do a football game.
Right.
And then it's like, well, let's do a season of football games, and so I mean, it was, well, we probably should call ourselves, but the actual figuring out how to stream in a reliable fashion, I mean, all of that came from serving you guys as a client and a customer, and so.
Well, and what started that was, there was actually a soldier in Iraq that could not get away for whatever reason. I don't know if it was top secret clearance or whatever it was. And that's when I came to you and said, can we do this so this soldier can watch his grandfather's funeral? And you looked at me and you said, well, I would have to get some equipment, and we're going to have to figure things out. And I said, if you can get this started, we will use you. Kind of like, if you build it, they will come.
Right. Yeah.
And it has truly been amazing, because let me tell you, with what you had in place for our funerals that we provided when COVID hit, it was life-saving to our
we were
community.
already ahead of the game.
It was life-saving. Like, people were still able to embrace a funeral service, and sometimes there was nobody in the room but us.
Right. Yeah.
But we were putting on funerals, and we were respecting that person's life, and it truly could not have come at a better time.
Yeah.
Because it enabled people to say goodbye in a healthy way, because a lot of people couldn't even be with their loved ones when they passed away, because they passed away in hospitals and nursing homes where people weren't allowed. And it really changed the way people looked at funeral service when you can do it live. Now, granted, it's better to be there in person, but, and it's kind of weird to say doing a funeral live when somebody's passed away. That's kind of a joke, but it's really been awesome. Like, what you have done and it's not even necessarily our local community. What you have done for people worldwide watching these funerals is truly amazing. Like, people miss flights. They're sitting in airports. They call the funeral home. We tell them where to click on their button, and the funeral that they truly thought they were going to miss, they are able to watch it live as it happens. And there's kind of been some funny things that I've seen. While people are at funerals, before the funeral starts, you'll be there getting your camera set up. You start to stream it right before the funeral. Someone's phone will ring, and they'll be like, I didn't think you were here. How do you know I've got a nice pink blouse on?
Yeah, you're right.
And they're looking around, and they're like, I'm watching you on camera. And then they turn around and wave at the camera and kind of start a little quick dialogue. And it's just, it's really cool, because people that feel like that, well, they just feel like they're a part of the service, and they can be thousands of miles away.
Yeah. Well, and that's the powerful thing. I mean, it's one thing to watch something remotely.
We're going to try that. We're going to try this.
It's one thing to watch something remotely, but it's that connection of being able to text. So even though the family is split up in 2 different locations, and I experienced this myself, them being able to text and say, yeah, yes, I'm with you.
Yes.
I'm not sitting next to you. But I mean, you know, when you're in a funeral and you're going through that grief, you know, you're there, you don't really know who's right there with you.
That's true.
So it doesn't, you know, and especially if it's your parents or your loved one. So me knowing, like when I lost my parents, because I used the same service, you know, I used our service
right
when I did my parents' funerals, you
right.
know, and my dad had he was dying of cancer, and so he did the coolest thing. About 6 months before he died, he had a goodbye party.
And, that's great.
Yeah, and his thing was, and I told my kids, is like, look, if you're gonna come, let's come to the goodbye party.
Right.
And so it was, so, you know, I mean, we got to share things about him and talk about him
right
in his presence, and he got to respond to that. And, you know, but for the funeral, they were there remotely, you know, and it was so meaningful for, like, Dad, I'm with you. I'm watching.
Right.
Yeah. And so that personal connection, even though they weren't in the house,
right,
it didn't really matter.
That's awesome.
Yeah. Yeah. So very cool. But yeah, no, and that you've done a great job, but it's not just that. You've embraced technology. I mean, with what it is that you've done. Now, one of the things that you've done really significant in the community is you started Loveland Safe Ride. And kind of how did you get, and you don't necessarily, I mean, I know you had a friend who died in a car accident because he was drunk.
Yes.
And because of that, you decided I wanted to do something to prevent that in our own community.
Yeah. So on July 17th, 1997, I was headed to a funeral directors convention in Idaho, and I got a phone call from my best friend's mom and said that, and I'm going to try to get through this without getting emotional, but she said that Brett had been killed in a drunk driving accident. And Brett was my best friend, my roommate, a fellow funeral director. He was in Ronan, Montana, and he had been down at a party, had a girl with him, and they left the party and they crashed the car. She spent all night in the car. He was deceased. And she finally realized at daylight that nobody was going to find them. And she took her about an hour, but she finally got out of the car and she crawled to a farmer's house. And luckily she was saved. She was a sweet girl. We had 2 funerals for Brett, one in his hometown. He was a Montana All-State athlete, and in Columbus, Montana. And then we had the second funeral in Ronan, Montana, where he was working at the funeral home. And the biggest challenge that I had with it is he knew better. I mean, Brett and I together in mortuary school would go out to the scene, and we would pick these kids up all the time that had been drinking and driving. And it was awful. I mean, you'd find there'd be a car of kids just devastating. We'd be crying on the way home and talking about it. And it was just such a horrible act that I was trying to figure out, what can we do? What can I do to honor Brett's life and save lives? And so that was in 97. I bought the funeral home in 99, and I decided that I was going to take my Suburban that New Year's of 2000, that I was going to take my Suburban and I was going to drive around town and just ask people if they wanted to ride home. And it was busy, and I was very surprised. And
so was there any announcement? You just got in the vehicle and
I did. I put an ad in the paper and something on the radio, and then I put these magnets on the side that just said Loveland Safe Ride. And so that first year, it was very busy, But I quickly realized when I'm driving, people wanted to meet me. They wanted to talk to me. They had questions for me, like, how did you come to LeGrand? How did you get involved in the funeral business? And I hear you like hunting and fishing. And I was realizing that I was doing more talking than driving. And it was defeating the purpose of me trying to get people home safely if I was stuck in someone's driveway talking to somebody, because I was trying to be nice. And so I quickly realized that myself driving is not a good idea. And it was shortly thereafter that Jerry Hopkins, one of my really good friends, he volunteered and said, I don't want $1 from you. He says, I believe in this program. And he goes, and I want to support it. And I said, well, Jerry, you need to take money, because let me tell you, when you get a carload of drunk people, it's overwhelming. And some of the
things
oh yes,
I've been on that journey.
You did the Loveland Funeral Chapel Confessions trip, but there's a lot that goes on in the vehicle, and some people are very loud. Some people are mean. Some couples are in arguments.
We got all three of those just in the one night.
And some people just want to play loud music and have a good time. And it is, but Jerry has taken over that program, and going from giving a few hundred people a ride home to we are well over 100,000. So we have figured that we have given, I believe, if our numbers are right, everyone in this county a ride home 5 times. And so now, granted, some of us take a ride more than once, and I take the ride. I'm not, by all means, I'm not perfect, but I'll go to a rodeo and have a few beers, but I take the ride home. And a lot of people have caught on, and they do that. And like at some events, we'll have 5 vehicles just running all night long. And it's truly been an amazing service. And I cannot thank Jerry Hopkins enough for what he has done for our community. And it's truly, like, everyone's like, oh, Kevin Loveland does this program. Jerry Hopkins does the program. Because I truly decided I had to step away, and I had to focus on the funeral home aspect of it, because I was spending too much time talking and not driving.
Yeah. Well, and it provides, I'm going back to, people know better. Your friend knew better.
He did know better.
He did. But in that moment, for whatever reason, he didn't have an option.
It was a girl.
He did. Yeah. A girl. And, but Loveland Safe Ride provides them an option that's right in front of their face.
We park right by the gates. You go to Eastern Oregon Livestock Show, which is coming up. It's the first full weekend in June, and we park right at the front gates.
Yeah.
And then the same thing with Loveland Stampede, which is the second full weekend in July, and we park right in front of the gates. If there's a dance, we're there, and the police know if somebody's getting a little out of hand, but they're not getting out of hand to get a citation. They can call us. We'll get the person home. We don't care if somebody's a minor. We're not taking you to the police department. We're going to take you home. And we don't like to just transport people from party to party.
Right.
This is one thing that
people do call for that.
This is one thing that I do want to say is, please call us when you want a safe ride home. But if we're busy taking you from party to party to party, it makes it a challenge, because it's occupying our vehicles for the people that are just trying to get home safe.
Right.
And we've done it occasionally, but it's just not something that we want to practice. But it's truly been amazing seeing all of these people. And I mean, I've had kids from high school age to great grandparents at 80 years old that have said, thank you so much. I've taken your ride, and it's just, it's been amazing. And it's a free ride home. It's definitely honoring my friend Brett, and I'm incredibly proud of the program. Probably I'm more proud of that program than I am proud of the funeral home. And that program I make no money on.
Yeah. Right.
But it's just, it gives me a warm feeling to know that I know that I have changed, that I have saved some lives in honor of Brett.
Right.
And to me, that's more important than anything else I can be doing.
Yep. So mention real quick because the car dealerships that are involved in helping you, and some of the other staff. I mean, because you don't have enough rigs,
no,
personally to do this, and so
I'm glad you brought that up, because we basically, and I think I'm doing my math right, we basically have 4 car dealerships, main car dealerships here in town, and Goss Motors donates vehicles to us, Legacy Ford, Legacy Dodge, and the other guy's auto. And it has, when we started the program, I was using my personal vehicles or funeral home vehicles, and let me tell you, those vehicles are not in really good shape the next day. It's a challenge. So I would literally we'd be doing driving events, and then in the morning I would be back at the funeral home and vacuuming out and using air fresheners and trying to get ready for funerals. So then we just decided we don't want to use funeral home vehicles anymore, and we started renting. And then the dealerships came to us and just said, what if we believe in your program, we love your program, what if we donate the vehicles? And I said, that sounds fantastic, instead of renting. And so all of those dealerships we can call at any time for any event, whether it's New Year's, Halloween, college, EOU graduation, the rodeos. It's whenever we have an event, the Union County Chamber of Commerce, the awards banquet that goes on every year, and we can get vehicles whenever we need. They donate the vehicles. They never ask for anything in return. They give them to us with a full tank of fuel. They say, bring them back empty, because that's their contribution. And so before you go, and whether you're buying a used vehicle or a Ford or a Dodge or a Chevy or a GMC product, if you truly want to support our community, support our local dealerships. And I can tell you, I have bought vehicles from every single one of these guys, and everybody thinks you have to go to these big name brands that offer the best deals. And if you sit down with these salespeople, all of these guys are truly amazing. And all of the vehicles we've bought here in town, and we've bought from these guys that are contributing to our program, and you can get a great deal here. Everybody is willing to support the local community, and they don't want to see you go out of town. If they think you're going to go out of town, they're going to give you a good deal. And it's everybody, all of the dealerships, the employees, the managers, the owners have been amazing.
Yeah. Awesome. Well, and it's, Kyle and I talk about this a lot. It's that kind of thing that keep us supporting each other, buying stuff from each other. The people that sponsor little league teams and give back and pour money back into the community, like you do with SafeRide and so on and so forth. Those are the things that make LeGrand.
Yes,
on my sports show, I call it the circle.
Yeah.
Instead of the straight line takes money out of the community. The circle keeps it here.
That's a good way to look at it.
That's what I like that.
Yeah. Because I'm buying something from you, and you're buying something from someone else, and you're buying, and that money is what keeps our economy.
And like for like the sports show, people sponsor the show, and then I encourage people to go spend money, and then you know what I mean? Like it's just it's the same thing with the SafeRide. They're supplying cars, so we'll encourage people to go buy cars from them. I mean, it's that simple, and it keeps everything right here instead of.
I've talked to the Little League guys, and I said, we want to have 2 teams this year. So I want to do a Loveland Safe Ride and a Loveland Funeral Chapel team. And then I want them on the same league, because when they go to play each other, I want all of our employees down, and half of them rooting for one and half of them rooting for the other. And we want to start some bad battle back and forth. So that'll be next year. So we'll have to tune in for that one.
Well,
Loveland is playing Loveland.
That's
Nice.
fun. We did one for the first time this year.
That's awesome.
Yeah, and it's a little T-ball team. That was funny. Yeah, I mean, we streamed the parade on Saturday, and I ran out there and did a picture with them. It just yeah.
That's awesome.
But yeah, no, all of that just makes this huge difference. So, well, hey, let's turn the page for a bit. So, is there anything exciting in the hunting world that I mean, because I know you are an avid, you go to Wyoming a bunch, some.
Yes.
Okay. And I'm from Wyoming, and so I'm a big fan of what it is that you're doing there. And so, yeah, I mean, anything exciting that you've done that you want to talk about?
Last fall, my wife and I did go to Buffalo, Wyoming, and we went on an elk hunt just right up there in the Bighorn Mountains.
Beautiful.
And,
unbelievable.
And we had an amazing time. And she got a big 6-point. I did not get one. Everyone thinks I'm the world's this great hunter, and my wife out hunts me. And so we had an amazing trip, and just staying places along the way. And I'll tell you what, probably our next biggest adventure is my wife's son, my stepson, Logan Atkinson, who has been on a horse for 4 years. He went to college at Walla Walla Community College, joined the rodeo team. He had been on a horse occasionally, joins the rodeo team, decides he wants to become a steer wrestler. I told him I'd take him out practicing, and we just drive down the road at 25 miles an hour, and he can jump out of the truck and tackle a mailbox. And so, but he started steer wrestling, and now he was ranked 3rd in the region. And we are headed to Casper, Wyoming for the college national finals rodeos. So Sunday of stock show, I'll be waking up really early, and the wife and I are taking our travel trailer to Casper, Wyoming and I believe that's going to be aired on ESPN. So if anybody wants to watch somebody locally, it's the college national final rodeos in Casper, and it starts June 11th, I believe. Yeah. Around in there. So that's our next big adventure. And then as far as this fall, I don't have any out of town hunts scheduled or anything like that. We deer hunt out of Maupin, Oregon, and then I elk hunt around here. Archery elk hunt.
Yeah, you deer hunt in Maupin?
I do.
What are you hunting for there?
They're mule deer. Yeah.
What do they eat?
Mostly a lot of alfalfa and
sagebrush, so they're on fields,
yellow grass.
So they're not like here.
No.
They're bigger. They taste better.
There's a lot more deer there. Our deer populations here are just in the tank because
my buddy leases I want to say 4,000 acres on when you're going into Klamath Falls, just over the mountain there, where all those pivots are.
Yes.
And we go down there and coyote hunt.
Very nice.
And not during deer season, obviously, but there's some big deer down there.
Yeah.
There's some monsters.
Yeah.
And they all eat alfalfa. I mean, so they don't taste like crap like here.
Right.
First time I had a blacktail on the west side of the state, I was like, deer is really good, because I'd always eaten deer from here, and it's just like, oh.
Blacktail and whitetail are both really good.
Yeah, blacktail on the west side, they're eating green all year. Over here, they're eating just dry sage, and they taste really gamey. And then I moved to the west side. First time I saw a blacktail, I thought it was a sick deer. I didn't even know there was a different species over there.
They're pretty small.
Yeah, they're tiny.
Right.
And then the first time I tasted it, I was like, whoa, I can get into this. Because I didn't really like venison until I moved to the west side.
Sure.
Yeah.
So when you were in Buffalo, have you ever been over the Bighorn Mountains and come down into Ten Sleep?
That's the way we came in. That was the most beautiful drive.
I lived in Wyoming my whole life, and it wasn't until Tanya and I took a trip to the Black Hills Mountains and saw Mount Rushmore, and on the way back we came that way. We went up over the Bighorns and down into Ten Sleep, and it's like, that is some of the most beautiful country. I mean, in the Tetons. I mean, I grew up in, it is just, you just look down, it's like, there is nobody for miles and miles, and It's just big country there.
If I was ever going to get a cabin out of state or just have recreational property, from what I've seen, I would choose Tin Sleep.
Yeah.
We stopped in that little town and had an absolutely amazing lunch.
Yeah.
And on the way in, and so then we hunted for 5 days, and then we timed it perfectly to where we could stop in there again at another place and have lunch on the way out, and it was amazing. And we stayed in Jackson Hole, and holy cow, if you're not ready to for some of the ridiculous prices of motels, don't stay in Jackson Hole.
Jackson Hole is a tourist trap.
It is now.
It was crazy. But if you get out of town a ways, it wasn't that bad. So on the way there, we stayed in Jackson because, we just wanted to go to dinner.
Yeah.
It was my wife's birthday, and so we stayed there. And holy cow, it was expensive. And then on the way back, we stayed out of town a ways because that's pretty spendy. But what a beautiful drive. That area, that Tin Sleep, and all through Buffalo, it was
it is like, I mean, and going through Cody, and that, I mean, all of that area is just, that is a beautiful path.
Yes.
It's not fast.
No.
But that's a beautiful path to get through that area. So, awesome. Kevin, thank you so much for being here today.
Oh, you're very welcome. It's always a pleasure.
Yeah, and thanks for, Loveland Safe Ride also sponsors the Keeping It Clear with Cody Bowen show. You're our main sponsor for that. We appreciate that, and it's always fun.
Thank you very much.
Having you and Cody in the same room that'd be an interesting conversation.
Well, we should do that.
We were on the porch in the dark one time.
Right at the funeral home.
Yeah, when Cody and I were doing the cops bad boys. We didn't even get any calls. We got a call for a transfer, and that's it.
Well, I think people just knew because they thought you were going to be jumping out of the car.
I'm not jumping out of nothing.
Arrest.
I told Cody I'm not getting out. I'm staying right here.
No. I was with Cody one time, and there was a person that was kind of beating up on a couple of teenagers, a boy and a girl. And let me tell you, Cody can handle himself. We were at lunch.
Small.
We were at lunch, and Cody went and did that call, and he was the first one on scene as this guy was just getting ready to take a swing at this kid, maybe 13 years old. And let me tell you what, he did not get to complete that swing. and Cody did it very nicely. I would not have known how to do it nicely.
Yeah.
But Cody did it. He very effortlessly just put this guy on the ground and said, "You're not going to be beating up any more kids today." and the guy didn't have a scratch on him. And I'm like, wow, that was amazing. I mean, if I had to do that, I'm a lot smaller than Cody. I'd have had to tackle the guy. So, yeah.
Well, thank you. All right. You want to get us out of here, man?
On this day, what is today? The 23rd?
Today's the 23rd.
There's not very many of them, but let's rattle through them. 1845, on this day, the New York City Police Department is formed, replacing an old night watch system. So, 1845. 1900, on this day, the Associated Press News Service forms in New York. 1903, on this day, the first automobile trip across the U.S. leaves San Francisco for New York. How long do you think it took?
Oh, my.
Today's May 23rd.
I don't know. 10 days.
No. 2 months. They got there July 26th.
Wow. That's a long trip.
So in a car,
it
took it 2 months.
Wow.
Could you imagine being the driver? Like what? Like
2 months.
If it's 1903, that you're still on wood wheels.
Right.
Oh, yes.
Okay, I get
You're driving all the way across the country on wood wheels. That was a bumpy ride.
Oh, yes, it was.
1934, on this day, American outlaws Bonnie Parker and Clyde Barrow are killed by police in an ambush near Salis, Louisiana.
Oh, wow.
Yeah, I thought they were older than that, but 1934.
Okay.
2018, on this day, the NFL owners approved a new NFL national anthem policy whereby players required to stand if they choose to be on the field for pregame presentations, and that was because of the Kaepernick thing. They said if you aren't gonna come out here and kneel down, you can stay in the locker room if you want to. And then that kind of curbed all the stuff that was going on at the time.
What year was that?
2018, 5 years ago already.
Wow.
Yeah.
Wow.
That's crazy, huh?
Yeah.
The #1 movie in America 20 years ago on this day, Bruce Almighty. Jennifer Aniston.
Oh my
Jim
word,
Carrey.
that's awesome.
Yeah. And then the quote for the day, it comes from Vanderlei Silva, who's a UFC fighter. A player who conjugates a verb in the first person singular cannot be part of the squad. He has to conjugate the verb in the first person plural. We. That's deep right there. Yeah.
Yes,
So if you know what conjugating a verb is, like it's
No.
the tenses, right?
Yeah.
So one more time, a player who conjugates a verb in the first person singular cannot be part of the squad. He has to conjugate the verb in the first person plural. We.
All right.
That's pretty deep for a UFC.
That is.
Yeah.
Like,
I
wonder if there's a simpler way of writing that sentence.
Yeah, there is.
That would help me understand.
I know.
It's not. There's no I in team.
Yes.
Oh, yeah. Right.
That's exactly what it is.
Right. Yeah. All right. Well, hey, thanks, Kevin, for
You're
being
welcome.
here. Yeah.
Thank you.
Thank
See
you,
you on
Eastern Oregon,
Thursday.
for being here. We'll see you Thursday.